This video is going to get quite a bit of hate, but I'm prepared for it because I'm prepared to tell the truth. There is a lot lately on my feed from people that I know who continue to condemn others for their sin. Something that I'm not okay with and I will not tolerate is men and women that condemn other people for their sin. This is not the behavior that I'm talking about where a man or woman is holding their friend or female or their companion accountable for walking closer to Jesus, right? This is the kind of behavior I'm talking about where you guys will literally get on your story, get on social media, and call people out for doing certain things that you don't necessarily agree are okay with, but it's on a threshold of sin. You guys start saying that drinking or, smoking or going out and talking to other people or cheating or adultery or beating people up, getting into fights, yelling at people, calling people names. Oh, that's just not really me, bro. Like, I just can't do that. Like, that's too messed up. Oh, you took it too far. Or calling women sluts, but then going and watching porn. Something that I've never really set right with me is a man who is really strong and adamant towards his goals, or he becomes very driven to overcome adversity and pursue his goals. And the one thing that really bothers me is these guys have the opposite of what you actually think ego is. Ego actually comes in two very different forms. I talked about this earlier today to even my friend and his wife as well. And I said ego comes in two different forms. It comes in the form of a man who is overconfident, and it also comes in a man who is completely unconfident of himself. And the reason that is because confidence establishes the point of where your proof is true and you can stand on that and it's for a good cause, right? You're not hurting anybody. You are believing in something that is good, right? Well, what is good? What is relative to good, right? And I would go so far to say that these men who have an ego of being overconfident are hiding something. Well, just as much as somebody who isn't hiding something and is displaying, this personality of being a victim to all of their challenges, also has an ego. Because their ego is not telling them I'm better than everybody else. Their ego is telling them I could never be good enough for everybody else because I'm going to choose to make this trauma that happened to me my identity. And I'm never going to change because I just don't want to take accountability of it. And same thing with an overconfident man. He says, I'm just not going to take accountability for telling people lies about who I really am and not really telling the full truth of who I truly am. And what I would say to you guys is, you guys got to stop condemning others for sin. If you're going to sit here and post about your social media posts and idolize yourselves and create a following, you guys truly have to get okay with the fact that guys like me are going to call you out. And I would highly suggest you call me out on something that, you see that isn't exactly Christian, right? Maybe a song that I put on my story. Say, hey, why do you put that? And you know what? You're right, bro. I shouldn't put that on my story. But I don't go and tell you guys, hey, you shouldn't be playing rap music and that's just hateful and it's promoting sexuality and all these drugs and stuff. I don't go on social media talking about that because that's not my brand. I don't call people out. But you know what? I'm sick and tired of people calling everybody else out from a place that they think they can sit on this throne and they commit no sin at all. You guys sin, whether you like it or not, you guys sin. And the problem is, a lot of you become so complacent with the fact of what your sins are, you put it on a threshold and you say, oh, well, I just don't really want a woman that's not dressing, to my liking and covering herself up. Brother, you just went and spent $40 on alcohol to gain confidence, to talk to a woman, to spend it with your boys out on a night on the town and enjoy yourself. You don't need alcohol to do that. I can tell you from my perspective, I struggled with that. But let me say this. If you're going to sit here and tell people how they should live and tell people how they should escape from sin, flee from it, flee from lust, flee from, this victim mentality, then stop being this overconfident, pretentious asshole that is telling everybody else what they should do. And why don't you go and start being the man that you need to be and start taking accountability for your sin. Quit going outside of yourself and going outside of your way to create engagement on your social media page by telling men and women what they should and should not do, and then you don't even do it yourself. How is it that God says all sin is equal except for blasphemy because it's the unforgivable sin, but then you're going on here and telling women they're sluts, they're whores, and you're name calling them into condemning them of their sins. But you're going to go and try to better yourself, right? Try to put better people around you and try to force these people around you that are inspiring to you and you're inspiring to them, maybe. It may be so much as to go around and put a circle around you that's nothing but inspired from you, right? Because you want to be a leader. Let me tell you something. As a man's coach, I don't look for other people to be inspired by me. I look to inspire myself. That's why people come to me and ask me questions, because I have to become somebody for myself before I can become anybody else, before I can become any sort of motivator, any sort of inspiring person for anybody else, especially online. That's why my stuff feels raw. That's why my stuff feels real. That's why I don't come to you guys and tell you guys, hey, you need to clean up this area of your life where, I'm still committing this sin. I don't do that. You don't see me hopping on my story and saying how much I hate women. You don't see me hopping on my story and say, oh, this is such a horrible world for my kids to be raised in. You don't see that. Well, I don't have kids, right? But I also don't go out and say, oh, it'd be such a horrible world for me to raise my kids in. It'd be such a horrible world for me to let my daughter go and dress the way she wants. Well, guess what? I didn't lead my daughter and I didn't lead my son into condemning, right? I didn't lead them into making them aware of other people's sins. I led them into a lifestyle where they're rejoicing in Jesus' name, where their hearts and their minds are captivated by Jesus, and they're not so focused on all these images on the internet. They're not so focused on what people depict about them, all these words that people jumble together to try to make an insult towards somebody they don't even know anything about. They see one thing on the internet and they grab it and they're like, that's condemning. You're a whore, you're a slut, or you're an asshole because, and it's like, for me, if somebody were to come to me and tell me I'm an asshole, I know I'm an asshole, but I'm going to be the asshole that tells you the truth. I know that I'm an asshole sometimes, but I'm also the guy that hears people out. I'm also the guy that has created a safe space for men to come and talk about all of their traumas that nobody else wants to listen to. Because quite frankly, you probably have a friend, or you're this friend in a group of guys where you feel like you can't even talk about what's going on, bro, because they're going to judge you, or they're going to take you weak, or you've become this parent or this leader inside the group where you feel like you have nowhere else to go to. That's why I've created the group, the Brotherhood, because I'm sick and tired of men saying that they think the most important thing in life is one thing besides Jesus, besides following suit in God's plan for them, being a great father, being a business owner, or whatever it is you want to do as far as your role, as far as financial need, right? In the element to survive in life, you want to thrive. You don't want to just stay in the survival state. That's why it's so important to stop condemning other people for sin. You're focusing way too much time on engagement, going viral, and doing all of this stuff that never really will create a legacy because you're so focused on what other people are doing. Start focusing on you. Start focusing on yourself. Once you start to actually love yourself, You will stop looking for other pieces of yourself and other women and other men and putting them around you to make you feel better about yourself. But this is important, guys. Nobody's willing to have this conversation with you, but I am. Because I'm sick and tired of seeing men be complacent in their pain because they're familiar with it. They know no other way to go through life but to compete on how many hours they had for sleep, how much caffeine they've had. Dude, it doesn't matter. Nobody gives a shit, all right? It doesn't matter. We're done. We're done talking about that. Start leveling up your life. Start talking about your wins. What have you done for your son if you're a father? What have you done for your business if you're an entrepreneur? What business have you created? What kind of following do you lead? What do you tell people? What kind of morals do you have, right? Are they loose? Do you see yourself being this guy who's creating generational wealth for your bloodline? Are you being a top performer at work? Do you have a work ethic? Is it even there? Do you go home and stress out and then cope, right? You think that therapy is going to bring you some sort of happiness in your life. But what it truly is just reflecting on the person that you already are. And what has happened to you in your life and reflecting on that and how you're going to start taking accountability to becoming the man that you want to be. Get clear on your goals. Why are you worried about everybody else's, man? That's what it means to be a viceroy. That's what it means to walk in the light of Jesus, man. That's what it means to hold yourself accountable to being the man you want to be. Getting clear on the goals you actually have, informing the people you love of those goals, and making it real, holding yourself to those promises you made yourself, and then allowing others in on the light because they want to see why you're putting yourself through this hard challenge of becoming the man that you need to be. Nobody else is going to understand it, but they need to know what you are going through. They need to know what your decision is. You keep leaving these people out that love you, you keep leaving them out in your life, and watch. They're going to walk right away from you. They're going to create distractions for themselves because they're not getting the love and the time and the attention that they deserve from you. Because you've told them you want to be with them, you've created a life for your son, or you've created a life for your woman, you've created a life for your friends to create a social environment, right? To go and spend time with your buddies. But guys, spending time with your friends is important just as much as a camping trip, not so much as getting pissed drunk at the bar. It's getting to talk about the things in life that no other man is going to talk about with you just in passing. Oh, look at the weather today we're having. Who gives a shit? Okay? Take your time and think about where you're spending it. You know? It's not about, oh, I need to cut out video games. No, you just need to stop playing them for 10 hours a day. You can play a video game, you know? You can play a video game. It's not talking about like, oh, like, I just need to freaking, buy better shoes to run in. Dude, you can start running. Like your feet are going to be jacked up, right? But you can eventually afford a new pair of shoes. You guys are putting things in front of you that are excuses, and you're never really trying to sacrifice things to get what you want out of life, to become a man you're proud of, because you're so like held out on this ego of this man, and you don't even know who that is. What does this man even do? Have you even got clear on this kind of man that you want to become? Because I guarantee you guys, if you started doing that, you would start actually appreciating the wins that you're having. You would start accepting the person you are and stop looking outside of yourself for approval. But this is the work that matters. And that's what's been on my mind today. That's what's been on my heart, because I'm sick and tired of seeing men just cope with drinking and smoking and going out and getting, forcing women around them, using money to make people impressed with you. When you impress a woman with money, where do you think you're going to lead that lifestyle into? Do you think this woman is attracted to the money that you make, or is she attracted to the kind of values you bring to the table? Did you even talk about them? Did you even talk about these values with the women that you bring around with your money? Did you even talk about these women and talk to these women about what you want in a woman? Is it anything but physical needs, physical desires. Yeah, well, I want a wife, and I just want her to be there for the kids so I can just go work all the time and she could be a stay-at-home mom. Honestly, brother, you're going to create a life of misery and you're never going to win because you're going to choose to argue and choose to try to put your belief of this narcissistic, delusional way of living into a woman, and she's going to go and break up with you, cheat on you, spend her time around other men that are valuable and pour into her and create a life that is an embodiment of what it means to be a husband and a wife in a covenant. That's why it's so important you guys get clear on this, because if you truly want to create a life for yourself, personal development is the most important thing you can do in relationships, in business, in family, spiritual, okay? When you start to reflect on the kind of man you are and you need a guide, I'm a huge Christian. I'm a big believer in Jesus Christ. But I don't go out here and say, oh, I'm a disciple, I'm a monk. And I definitely don't go out and say, look at all these whores dressing with skirts. I don't talk like that. I don't say, oh, you don't have any bitches, so you're never going to get any money, like these rap songs do. I don't say that. You don't see me saying that, and I definitely won't ever say that. Because I'm not trying to prove my worth by how much money I make, by how many women I've slept with, by how many drinks I can have, by how much alcohol or caffeine or any sort of vice that I let control me. And vice is something that is unhealthy to you, that you cannot, and I would say a bad habit is something that you cannot control, but you say you can give up. So give those things up. And then when you prove to yourself, nobody else, that you can give them up, then have you proven to yourself the kind of man you actually can become. Then you can start being happy for that man you're becoming. But until you start doing that, you will continuously look for other people's problems and answers to your own. And that's not how personal development works. It's all within you, all within inside. And it's very, very spiritual. So guys, if you're tired of feeling like you have to carry this weight on your own, if you're tired of feeling like you have nobody to go and talk to about these problems in your life, not making enough money, not feeling loved, feeling like you're never going to get in a relationship, feel like you're never going to just land a job that you want or build a business that you want or do whatever it is that you say you're going to do, and you're stuck on negotiating with your feelings, and you're stuck on forcing yourself to get out of bed in the morning because you hate the life you live, then you need to have a mentor. Because who is somebody that you know right now that has the mindset that will overcome any trial and tribulation in their life? Do you know somebody that's like that? Because I'm going to tell you, 99% of those people that say they do, they have a vice and they do unforgivable acts, right? At least they think they do unforgivable acts, I should say. And they cover it up. They think what is unforgivable acts. And I'm going to tell you, as a man that has stripped away a lot of pride and a lot of ego, your sin is forgivable. Your ego is forgivable. Your lack of confidence is forgivable. These things can be worked on, but they start with you. So if you're looking for a community that is already doing that, and you want a good leader around you and a mentor that gives 100% care about the kind of goal you tell him you want to become, the version of the man you want to become, then you should plug in. You should plug in with a mentor that is giving 100% care about you and the goals that you want to set out. But until you do that, life just might start keep spinning its wheels. You might just keep going in circles for years. I'm not talking 2 or 3. I'm talking 10 or 20. Save a decade of your life. Hire a mentor. Get a life coach. Get somebody in your life that has spirituality in them, that follows God, that praises Jesus, and wants you to succeed and wants you to win. Even on the days you cannot find a reason to fight. Because I'm going to remind you, if you hire me as your coach, if you hire me as your mentor, I'm going to remind you, it's your word against you, not mine. I'm just showing you the value that you already bring to the table if you're willing to work. So plug in, guys. God bless you. And I'm praying for everybody out there, including myself. Okay? I love y'all. All right? Take care of yourselves. Make smart decisions. See you in the next video.